Hello, welcome to the Rundown. We are back with another training camp special. As you can see, I'm Joey Gunner filling in for Richie Carney today. So he's going to be on the drive talking radio about what we just saw at training camp today. And not only that, but what I saw at training camp factored into what a lot of people saw in the preseason game that the Broncos played back on Saturday. Now, what we saw in that preseason game was not great. Overall, it wasn't great because we weren't seeing what we want to see from the first unit, from the starters. You want to see more from the starters. And all that we saw from the starters was that they went down 9-0 in the first quarter. And that wasn't, obviously, that's not winning. That's not how you win a game. Now, luckily, the backups went in there. And one of the backups that really stuck out, especially when you're comparing the two positions, is Jarrett Stidham. And if you want to take a look at Jarrett Stidham's stats here, they were great. He had great numbers. Jarrett Stidham, 14 of 15. 2 touchdowns, and 136 yards, 14 of 15. And that really sticks out not only when you look at the stats, but when you compare it to Bo Nix's stats. And you can see those as well right here too. Bo Nix did not have his best game. 6 for 11, 31 yards, and 0 touchdowns. He did lead the Broncos to 1 field goal, but that's not great. And sure, what you're seeing in the preseason, especially from starters, is them taking it slowly. They're playing, honestly, at about 50% game speed. When they're in a preseason matchup, they're not playing like it's the regular season. So you can't hold that against Bo Nix at all. But what you can see, and what you can say is good, is Jarrett Stidham going 14 of 15 and 136 yards, 2 touchdowns. And the thing that really sticks out most about that is the completion percentage. 14 of 15 is an incredible completion percentage. That's exactly where you want to be. Not only as a QB overall, but as a backup QB, because the goal and the role of a backup QB should be to get in there and alleviate the starting QB for as much time as needed. You don't want your backup QB to be in there for forever. You want him to be able to come in, step in, throw a couple passes, and while they check on the starting QB, knock on wood, and nothing's going to happen, but still, that's the goal of a backup QB. And Jarrett Stidham played exceptionally well in that preseason game, proving that he can do that. He can be that backup guy that can come in and alleviate Bo Nix, take some of the weight off of his shoulders, complete passes. Your goal is to be a game manager when you're a backup, not to be going out there and throwing, 400 yards, 5 touchdowns. You're not going out there to be the Joe Burrows of the world. You're going out there to make sure your team wins this drive at least. And that's what Jarrett Stidham did. And that carried over into training camp today. What Jarrett Stidham was doing in training camp today looked great. He was taking some of the snaps as I was seeing. I was watching right across this wall, him taking snaps with the second unit and passing to some of his guys. And 2 of those guys, specifically Troy Franklin and Devon Vele, had a few moments that made the crowd pop. That made the crowd sitting right up there pop. They were getting loud. They were getting excited. There was one play, especially from Devon Vele. Jarrett Stidham dropped back in the pocket and threw over the defender, while Devon Vele went up against the defense and still caught the ball. That's the kind of link that you want between your QBs and your receivers. It doesn't matter if you're towards the bottom of the depth chart. It doesn't matter if you're the backup or the starter. What matters is that you're QBing. You have the ball in your hands every single play. Do you have the connection with your receivers? And what I saw in there said that, yes, he does have that connection with his receivers. And not only that, but Troy Franklin. Troy Franklin got wide open on a little post route, easily burned the defense, and Jarrett Stidham, a perfect ball that had him 2 feet from me because he's running through the end zone. Great pass from Jarrett Stidham, a great few passes from Jarrett Stidham, and he was really out there doing what he's supposed to do as a backup QB. Now, he was great. You want to see the best from your backups. You don't want to see them going out there just to pass the ball and get things done. You want to see the best from them while also being a solid game manager. So Jarrett Stidham has earned all the praise in the world as far as I've seen from his preseason game that he had just a couple days ago. And then what I saw inside those walls, it was all incredible. Jarrett Stidham has been on a tear. And then that brings up the question, is he too good to be a backup? Now, in my mind, no. In most people's minds, no. But if he keeps going out there and having preseason games where he's going 14 of 15, 136 yards and 2 touchdowns, some team that needs a QB may be looking at him to replace a said QB. And I'm not, naming any names, but hey, the Arizona Cardinals are coming to town. They're coming to do a joint practice on Thursday. is Kyler Murray their guy? Are they going to see Jarrett Stidham go out there and make a couple great passes and then say, hey, you know what? Maybe we take a flyer on this. That's just all, that's all just in the air. I'm just saying stuff right now with that. But there are certain moments where you see your backup QB go out there and make great plays and do certain things that other teams look at and say, this is the kind of person that we want on our team, not only for a backup, but maybe for a starter position or later in the season, later in a couple years. So what we're seeing from Jarrett Stidham could be that going forward, going into the future. I mean, we saw what he said last season. Last season, Jarrett Stidham was not happy that he was behind Bo Nix and Zach Wilson. And those guys are here, and look what Zach Wilson did. He was a backup for 1 year and then ended up moving on. Now, he's still a backup, but still, he can find better situations. He can find a better place. So Jarrett Stidham right now is on that verge of maybe really proving to a team, really proving to somebody that he could be more than just a backup to Bo Nix. Because, of course, Bo Nix is a great player. We've seen what he can do. He brought this team to the playoffs, first winning record in 10 years, first time going to the playoffs in 9 years, or opposite, I believe. Yeah, first playoffs appearance in 10 years, and then winning record in 9 years. Bo Nix has obviously proven there's no question that he's going to be the starting quarterback from here on out. But Jarrett Stidham now has something to show, now has a portfolio to show, hey, I've succeeded at the highest level. I've gone out there and I've won. Or I've gone out there and I've done what you asked me to do, 14 of 15, 160 yards or 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Jarrett Stidham's performance in camp has been outstanding. Now, not only Jarrett Stidham's camps, but all of the secondary unit, the second unit for this team, the backups, they performed very well. You look back at what happened in that preseason game. It was not great for the starters. Not great whatsoever. It was bad. It was bad overall for the starters. The starting defense looked tired. They didn't look like they wanted to be out there at all. And the backup defense went out there and they did something. They really they stopped the 49ers. I mean, the 49ers had 3 field goals in the first quarter. And after that, didn't put another point up on the board. And the Broncos were allowed to eat. That's how that went. There was no movement whatsoever once the second unit came on. So watching what the entirety of the second unit's defense did may have some of the starters questioning if they belong, if they should be doing this. Now, again, this is all preseason. So it's really just talking. It's really just looking at what we can see right now because, again, these starters are not moving at full game speed, and they won't be because that's not what your job is to do when it's the preseason, when it's training camp. That's not what your job is to do. So what they're doing is just being game managers and playing at 50%, while the secondary unit, the second team, the backups, are looking to go out there and make a name for themselves. And not only that, but some of these guys, they're not really signed to a team yet. They could be cut by the end of training camp. They could be cut. So they're going out there to play much harder. So all in all, what you see in the preseason, when certain guys in the second unit are playing much harder than the primaries, than the starters, those guys are doing that because they have something to prove. That's their Super Bowl. That is not the starter's goal. They don't go out there to win. They go out there to get back in the field. They go out there to put their cleats back on and really feel what NFL football is again, just to get out of the offseason. That's the starter's mindset. That's where they're at. So all of this, seeing what Jarrett Stidham's doing, seeing what the second unit of the defense did in the preseason on this field right over here, because we also just saw a great interception in practice. We're seeing all that because these guys want it a little bit more than some of these starters. And it's not only the guys who have been on this team who are the starters. It's certain people who are fighting for a starting position. And then it brings up the running backs because you're looking at the starting group and the running backs, the secondary unit. There is no clarity here at all. There's no clarity in the running back room at all in any sense of the word. You got J.K. Dobbins. You have R.J. Harvey. Who is going to be that starter when the time comes? And that's what they're both competing for. Now, if I had to guess based on what I just saw in training camp out here, I would say that J.K. Dobbins gets that starting spot. But R.J. Harvey has had a couple moments that have really boosted his stock, and he's also had a couple moments that have dropped his stock. R.J. Harvey, my 3 main critiques for him were that he bounces the ball outside far too often. Far too often. He will not run up the middle. He bounces it outside, and that does not work in the NFL level. It doesn't. It works in college, but it doesn't work in the NFL. Now, another one of his problems is that he cannot pass block to save anybody's life. He can't pass block at all. So seeing those two, first of all, those are not great. But then you're looking at what he can do once he gets the ball. And I said I have 3 problems. It was really just 2. His main 2 problems: he bounces the ball outside, and he cannot pass block to save his life. But as a pass catcher, as a running back who can run out for routes and catch the ball, that's where he can succeed. So RJ Harvey has the chance to succeed in this league if he can really tap into what his problems are. But as of now, more secondary unit talk, he's probably going to be sitting behind J.K. Dobbins when the first game of the season comes. And that's just, it's mostly speculation, but from what I can see in training camp right now, that will likely be how it turns out. So overall, the secondary unit is great. It is much better than the Broncos have had in the past. And if you could take anything from what I've said here in the past 10 or so minutes, take that I firmly believe that if Bo Nix were to sit out a couple games, the Broncos would still be able to succeed with the way that Jarrett Stidham has played. And that's not something that I could have said last year, the year before that, any of the past 10 years, because the primary quarterback wasn't good enough. So I can't go out there and say that, the primary quarterback isn't good, but if he goes down, we'll be better with the secondary unit. No, that's not the case this year. This case, if Bo Nix happens to sit out a couple games, Jarrett Stidham looks like he has the ability now to come in and alleviate that pressure from Bo Nix and still lead the Broncos to wins. But that'll do it for the rundown today. It's great being out here at training camp. We're learning so much about all these different position groups, and everybody who's out on the field right now is working towards something. Maybe not the Patrick Surtains, and if he is working towards something, he's working towards a secondary DPOY, but what Patrick Surtain is doing right now is going through the motions. But these other guys, you're seeing real work out here. So it's great that we're out here, at training camp, really just having a really fun time getting to watch what we're going to be seeing this season in the NFL. It'll be great, and I'm going to be with you guys for the next 2 days. We're talking more training camp, being out here at training camp. We got 2 more training camp specials for you guys because it's almost here. The NFL season is right around the corner, so we are almost done with this part of the NFL season, the waiting game. And now we are almost to the game time scenarios. We are getting there. The first game of the season is right around the corner. But thank you guys for joining me on the rundown today. I will see you all tomorrow. Until then, y'all have a great rest of your day. Bye, y'all.